The movie opens with an animated short, in classic Looney Tunes style, titled My Shadow and Me. In it, we see Joker, Arthur's dark side, taking over and heading to the recording studio of Murray's show. On live TV, Arthur struggles to keep his alter ego, Joker, at bay. But chaos erupts as the police overstep their bounds to capture him. Since then, Arthur Fleck has been held at Arkham Asylum, where the guards are especially cruel and violent toward the patients. Arthur's physical condition is pitiful. One morning, the guards shave him because he has a meeting with his lawyer. Arthur is transferred to another wing in the rain. Along the way, he passes a music therapy group, where another patient named Lee Quinn seems to recognize him from the news and points her fingers to her temple, mimicking a gun. His lawyer, Marianne, the only person who treats him with respect, tells him there will be a recorded session with a psychiatrist to be used in court. Marianne wants to prove Arthur suffers from a personality disorder, so she suggests he talk about his childhood traumas with the doctor, arguing that Arthur belongs in a mental hospital, not a prison. However, during the session, Arthur refuses to discuss his alter ego. Later, a guard named Jackie informs Arthur that, thanks to good behavior, he's been signed up for the B-Wing singing club and is escorted to his first class. But in reality, the guard just wanted to join the singing lessons himself, since that was his unfulfilled dream. The important part is that here, Arthur meets Lee. Lee tells Arthur that she knows who he is because she saw him on Murray's show and has watched the biographical film based on him about 20 times. She confides that she's also from a dysfunctional family and had an abusive father. To get rid of him, she set fire to a building, killing several people. Hearing this, Arthur admits, for the first time, that he didn't kill 5 people but 6, as he also took his mother's life. In the news, District Attorney Harvey Dent describes him as a monster and demands the death penalty for Arthur. That night, while the inmates watch a movie, Lee tries to convince Arthur to escape, but Arthur doesn't want to risk it. Lee stands, lights a cigarette, and starts a fire. Amid the ensuing chaos, they make a run for it, trying to scale the fence, but just before they manage, bam! The guards catch them. Arthur is dragged to solitary confinement, laughing uncontrollably. To pass the time in solitary, Arthur imagines himself in a Broadway musical with Lee. One night, Lee pulls some strings and manages to visit Arthur in solitary. She tells him she's been discharged, but promises to attend every one of his court hearings until he's freed. Then, she paints his face like the Joker, leading to a brief romantic moment. Arthur is about to be interviewed live by Patty Myers. His lawyer insists that he take the opportunity to show the public that Joker and Arthur Fleck are 2 separate personalities. During the interview, Arthur tries to show he's changed since falling in love, but Patty is the kind of sensationalist host who's determined to make him look bad. Frustrated, Arthur starts to sing. Meanwhile, Lee, watching from an electronics store, impulsively smashes the display window and takes a TV. The next day in court, Harvey Dent brings witnesses who claim Arthur is faking his mental illness, despite his lawyer arguing that Arthur is simply a victim of his mental illness and a life of abuse. Outside the courthouse, Lee puts on a show for the media, insisting the lawyer is incompetent and bent on making Arthur look crazy when he's perfect as he is. Back in Arthur's cell, his lawyer warns him that Lee's media stunts are ruining everything. Confident, Arthur responds that Lee just wants to help him and is the only one who truly understands him, having been through similar experiences. But his lawyer reveals the truth about Lee. She's actually a wealthy girl with a degree in psychiatry, and her father isn't dead, he's a doctor. On top of that, Lee checked herself into the asylum voluntarily. Arthur does what he always does, retreats into his imagination. He pictures himself in a TV show, singing alongside Lee, but at the end of the performance, she shoots him, his subconscious seemingly sending him a warning. Lee decides to visit Arthur, who confronts her, saying he knows the truth. She admits she only lied to get close to him, explaining that she moved into his old building to create a home for them because she's pregnant. The next day in court, Arthur's former neighbor, Sophie, whom he was obsessed with in the first movie, is called to testify. She shares some embarrassing details Arthur's mother confided to her, further damaging his image. As Sophie talks, Arthur completely disconnects from reality. In his mind, he's dancing and singing as a Broadway star, fantasizing about taking out the judge, only to be jolted back to reality. With a newfound arrogance, Arthur impulsively fires his lawyer on the spot, deciding he'll represent himself. Later, the crazy blonde visits him in his cell, thrilled because Arthur has finally let Joker take control. At the next hearing, Arthur appears in court dressed as the Joker. Gary, Arthur's ex-co-worker, is called to the stand and tearfully recounts how Arthur, dressed as Joker, killed their colleague Randall. Rather than defending himself, Joker decides to end the trial. Upon his return to the asylum, the guards, angered by his complaints about his treatment on live TV, give him a special welcome. The next day, Lee shows up in court dressed as Harley Quinn from the comics. In his closing statement, a defeated Arthur denies having a separate Joker personality, taking full responsibility for his actions and confessing to his mother's murder. Disappointed, Lee leaves the courtroom, and the jury finds Arthur guilty. As the judge reads the verdict, Arthur bursts into uncontrollable laughter, infuriating everyone present. Suddenly, a bomb explodes outside the courthouse, and amid the chaos, Arthur escapes with help from Joker fans. However, he decides to step out of the car and wanders the city for hours. Along the way, he meets Lee, but she rejects him for renouncing his Joker persona. The police quickly arrive and recapture him, sending him back to Arkham. The next day, another patient approaches Arthur in the hallway, saying he wants to tell him a joke, but it turns out he's a disappointed Joker fan who stabs Arthur. As he bleeds out, Arthur imagines himself with Lee, while the other patient, off camera, carves a smile into his face, just like Heath Ledger's Joker. And that's how the movie ends. Thanks for watching Universe Recap. Hit that subscribe button for more movie breakdowns, and we'll see you in the next story.